You ever sit down to create something and you got the ideas and you got what you need to make it, but it feels like your brain is just running in circles. No matter what you do, it's like you can't get things to like connect and come together the way that you wanted it to. And you can call it laziness, you can call it procrastination, but what if it wasn't any of those things? What if it's not a lack of discipline? What if the real problem is that you haven't forgiven yourself? You're unforgiven. You're not lazy. I've been in a season of forgiveness, forgiving myself for mistakes that I made in my business, for the ways that relationships with clients didn't pan out the way that I had expected. And I was realizing that every time I was coming up against something or a task was coming up that I hadn't forgiven myself for, I was hesitating. And I started to feel confusion where I once felt clarity. And I started to feel anxious where I was feeling excitement. And what's interesting is I feel like anxiety and excitement are like two sides of the same coin, but that's another video for another day. And I started to realize that it didn't feel lighter, especially in the moment where these things were coming up. It felt like my brain was overcrowded. And it turns out that that's exactly what unforgiveness does to our brains. So psychologists have found that when we harbor resentment and when we harbor unforgiveness, or even when we're just holding grudges, whether it's with ourselves or with others, it eats up our mental space. And that's the space that's supposed to be for creativity. It takes up the capacity that we have. One study literally showed that unforgiveness narrows your thinking and it clutters your cognitive load, which basically is how much your brain can handle. It takes up all of the space. And imagine trying to brainstorm an idea when you have 27 other tabs open in your head. And I know that y'all can relate to that. That's why you feel stuck. So if you ever told yourself that I'm lazy, I'm not focused, I'm unfocused, I'm undisciplined, what if the real reason is just because you're harboring resentment? Maybe you're harboring guilt or shame about what has happened. What I'm realizing, especially as unforgiveness is coming up again for me this week, is how it can be the block to your creativity. It could literally be the thing that's stopping the dots from connecting in your brain. And I'm realizing as more things are coming up that require forgiveness, it's really demanding my attention. And while it feels overwhelming sometimes, I can also feel the space. I can feel the space coming back to my mind for other things. There you go. Feeling heavy and unforgiveness, like even if just thinking about the idea of I gotta forgive is making your heart drop to your butt. I want you to first take a moment and just take a breath, because this is only the introduction video. It gets much more challenging. It gets so much more challenging, but it's worth it, y'all. I'm gonna be doing a series on forgiveness, and my hope is that as these things start to come up, you start to feel some of that space. You start to feel like you can reclaim the space in your brain, because I need y'all to understand that you're not lazy and you're not unmotivated. You're not undisciplined. You are blocked. And what is blocking your creativity could be something as simple as saying, I forgive this, I release this, and I'm okay. If you stick around, which I hope that you do, this series is going to be that thing that's missing, that connecting piece that helps to open up your creativity so that it can flow again. So I hope to see you in the next video.